Mira Business FM. The sound of success.
This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive. Don't forget you can get in touch with us, info@mira.fm. If you want to WhatsApp, whatsapp.mira.fm, 522-789-567. That's the phone number. See, I remembered. Download a podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find Mira Business FM podcast. Download those. Let us know what you think as well across social media, wherever you're watching, however you're watching or listening. Next up, it's HR, human recruitment, human resources, appointments.
Human recruitment?
Things. I don't know. I saw HR and for some reason
Where were we going with that?
Well, I always think feline recruitment's not a thing.
Sounds like a trafficking story.
The way this segment goes is where we
started badly again, isn't it?
Oh, I know. David Mackenzie's here. You probably noticed. He's the Group Managing Director of Mackenzie Jones Middle East. It's a pleasure to see you. I wish I could say.
And you as well.
Look, a quick one, David. Last week we had a question in from a listener. This was the question. You addressed it. I've been at my company for 5 years, and I know that new hires are making more than me. How do I address this pay gap? How do I ask for more money without being too confrontational? And you gave the answer to that in a non-confrontational fashion. So that became a YouTube short because it was,
really?
it's a nice question, yeah, and it got a lot of response. Here's one of them, meh, which I like. Kind of disagreeing with you, but putting a point across, and that's fine. So then you have to work even harder to meet some arbitrary target just to maybe start getting paid the same as the girl who just got hired and won't be productive for another 6 months.
That's an excuse.
Do you think so?
Well, I said this to you before. When has it become unfashionable to work hard? If somebody gives you a target, typically most human beings strive to hit that goal.
Right.
You're doing a marathon. You don't just run a marathon. You typically go, I want to do it in 5 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah, fair.
Targets are what motivate the human being. Back from the days when we were cavemen, or cavewomen, it was, I need to eat, so I'm going to chase that animal, kill it.
Yeah.
It's competitive. The workplace is competitive. And you need to stand out from everyone else. You need to be the best of the best. Or you can just drift along. It's your call.
Okay. I mean, it depends on. It's very specific to certain situations. But there's this person continues. So there's no good reason someone 5 years into a job should make less than a new hire in the same role. If the employee is not meeting expectations, the employer should have fired them or let them know. If the employee is meeting expectations, then the employer is just taking advantage of the employee's loyalty. Some companies have a policy of leveling compensation annually to account for market changes. Bring that up. And if it's a problem, start looking for a better job, this person says, which is, not mercenary, but very direct attitude.
I think that's what they said is exactly right.
It's reasonable.
Well, you've got to remember that companies are in their particular field to make money. It's a competitive environment. So saying to your boss, it's unfair because I do my job, I want a pay increase. No, you get paid for doing your job.
Yeah.
You get paid a bonus for exceeding that job. I think people have forgotten that you don't have an entitled right to get promoted or to get more money. You have to prove you've gone above and beyond your job to get a better pay rise or to get a bonus.
It would also depend, I think, to be fair. I mean, there are loads of variables here, and you can pick all sorts of arguments, you pick holes in all sorts of things, but it also depends on the experience of the person coming in. It may be a slightly different role. I mean, there are lots of things here, but I think some of this response really applies, because if you're not meeting expectations, that's down to an employer to tell you, hold a minute, and you, to be fair, you said this last week very directly, you're not up to this. You need to be doing this, and you need to be setting an ultimatum because you're being paid to do a job.
Very true.
Yeah, okay.
But I think a lot of people shy away from saying that to their boss.
Probably.
If you've known that let's take Ethel for she'll be a theme.
Is she back again?
She is.
Yeah.
If Ethel gets the job above you and she's in theory paid more money, then my first thing would be go to my boss and go, you've hired a really good person there. I think I should have got that role. Tell me why I didn't.
Right.
And if you point out the reasons why, give me some KPIs, key performance indicators or goals for me to hit so I can get a similar promotion in the future?
See, when you say it, it sounds so reasonable and so well thought out. And I'm imagining the boss also being so reasonable and so well put together. And that's the issue, isn't it?
Let's be honest. This is my job. I do this every single day, and and I do feel for candidates because a lot of bosses aren't reasonable. The majority of reasons why people leave jobs is because of their boss, not the company. And so I think, yes, I'm talking a very utopian world where everyone is nice and normal and that's what you do. But the alternative is you sit there and suffer and ultimately get frustrated with your job. That shows, and ultimately it might show to the point where your boss goes, you're not right for our company anymore. So what I always say to people when you're in a company and you're dissatisfied with something, sitting there and just accepting it is not the right course of action. You need to give your boss a chance to address your issues. Right. If you never tell them,
there's nothing wrong, is there?
How are they going to know? It's like a relationship, isn't it? If you never tell your partner you're unhappy with them, what happens?
Yeah, it's a good point. We're getting better at this, I suppose. You and I are both British, so we don't talk about anything. It's just, how you doing? Oh, everything's fine. Yeah, I'll just have some tea.
I got a Swedish wife.
The weather.
They talk about everything.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing. But you're right, and that's a fair point, I think. I had something else for you there, but it's gone. But I think it's just my age.
No, it's because we keep rambling. That's why.
Yeah, probably. How are you looking on the camera today, anyway?
I'm not even going to go into that. He's made me look terrible. I'm 150 years old.
I blame Farage. All I said to Farage, since I started working here, I've said, look, all I want on these cameras is a full head of hair and a flat stomach, and if you can make me look like Brad Pitt, it's not a lot to ask.
He's going to have a real challenge with my hair, isn't he?
He is. Well, I tell you what, there are filters for that, apparently, on Instagram. Here's a comment in from somebody watching, I think, at the moment. Good morning. I am from a poor country. I think that matters when applying for a job. I don't know which country. If I don't answer salary history because I know I'm underpaid from my previous job, I think I ruin my chances of getting hired. And I guess that's a pretty reasonable consideration.
Yeah, I'd love to say it doesn't happen, but it absolutely does. I think if you're going to a company and you believe they're the right employer, they won't do that to you. Right. But we know in this world it does happen. Yeah. There's no real answer to that. You just have to explain to your new company and your boss why you are a valuable employee, what you're going to do, what you're going to contribute, and why you are due this salary and this role. But again, I know what it's like here. It can be very difficult to do that, and trying to negotiate your salary from a very low point to the one you think it should be is super hard. But you get advice. Use people like me or recruiters, friends, to coach you through that process.
Okay. Here's one from Crabapple, apparently. I think that's probably a nickname.
I suspect so.
What internal policies or unwritten expectations exist within companies that employees are usually not told explicitly? Let me see.
I don't understand that.
Basically what's secretive, I think. What kinds of things are done secretly, but that significantly influence performance evaluations, promotions, or workplace culture? That's the question. Does that make sense?
No, I don't know how to answer that, actually.
What internal policies or unwritten expectations exist or, happen, I think, is probably what this person's saying.
I don't know. I mean, let me take my company, Mackenzie Jones. So we are a very open culture. So every quarter we tell our people what revenue we've made, how we've made it, and how well we're doing as a business.
That's very open.
We're very open.
I would think that's unusual.
Probably is in recruitment terms, yeah. But I believe we've retained our people for a long time because we're open. Now, there are some things I won't tell them. Like, if we had a cash flow issue or a client wasn't paying or something, because that's for me to solve.
Right.
But generally, if we ever have problems, we tend to share them, because keeping it all in yourself as the MD can be quite soul destroying. And I like to share some of that because I like to share success stories, but also, right, this has gone wrong. We haven't won this client because of this reason. And I share that because then we get much more of a collaborative chat internally.
And this is not to point to people or to point fingers or to criticise people. No, this is just a sharing thing.
Look, I'll give you a very real instance, and this lady is probably listening. we placed somebody and they didn't pay us, and she held on to it for 6 months and didn't tell me. And I sat her down and said, why? Well, I didn't want to disappoint me. Well, you've already disappointed me by not telling me. If you told me at the time, we can resolve it. We're not brain surgeons. Nobody's going to die. Just because we haven't been paid, we can solve that. So, and she's a really good employee, actually. And she's so passionate about our business. She so wants to be the best that she sometimes hides disappointment. And I'm saying disappointment isn't necessarily a thing that will kill you off as an employee. If you've done something wrong, and this is across all businesses, tell somebody, because it can be solved very easily. If you let it fester, the problem gets worse and worse and worse, and could be a real problem.
It's the kind of thing you tell your kids, isn't it? You'd rather your kids told you stuff than, well, most of the time.
One of mine told me something, I was like, you shouldn't have told me that, mate. Keep that to yourself. Tell your mum.
I so want to know what that was.
I'm going to tell you afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Involved a gun and a grenade.
We're 30 minutes away. Oh, no. Okay. Main story today we wanted to talk about was income tax. And this is interesting because you hosted a poll on your LinkedIn recently. And this is because Oman has announced the introduction of personal taxation. It's not going to hit everybody. Very few people.
1%.
In the initial. Yeah. And it's predominantly people earning, the big bucks.
They're mainly expats, if I'm honest with you. It's predominantly expats, yeah.
All right, then. So here's the poll on your website. What would you do if this was introduced in the UAE or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? You're working a lot in Saudi at the moment. The first option, stay, it's only 5%. Move back to my home country or move to a cheaper country. And then you said to me, and I haven't seen these poll results, and you just said it was interesting.
Yeah, have you seen them there? Can you see them on there?
I haven't looked on purpose because I want to just genuinely kind of live the moment. Yeah.
So the predominant ones, people said 68% of people, there were about 500 people voted for this, and it's still going, said they would stay. 5% is nothing compared to their current country, and they don't see it as too much of an issue. About 18% said they would leave, and the rest said that they would find a cheaper jurisdiction, which I've got to say, pretty tough to find that.
Yeah.
So I think it was a very interesting. So taxation is inevitable. The UAE is a growing country, and it's become, ever since we've been here, it's gone through a massive change in the last 20 years.
Yep.
And we're becoming a country where it's normal for people to buy houses, to raise their kids. People live here for 40, 50 years now, and they have been. Now, the issue with a country introducing personal taxation, the onus goes from, at the moment, we look after ourselves. We look after our own, or the company looks after the healthcare. We look after our schooling. We look after things like we pay for trash and all those things.
Yeah.
Once you introduce personal taxation, the emphasis then becomes on the country to look after its citizens, not just its nationals, but its expats as well. Now, the UAE, let's be honest, has been pretty good at that over the years. I've felt very looked after here. I feel it's my home. It's 22 years or whatever. But the shift becomes things like, some of the taxation we have at the moment, which is indirect taxation, will have to go away. And they'll have to provide things like, free schooling, free medical, free trash collection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
True, but that depends on the level of taxation, doesn't it?
Yeah, and your point is a good one. 5% is people, but let's face it, it's not going to stop at 5%, is it?
A cynic would say not. I mean, I don't know, but I would guess not.
I think a realist, the IMF says that every country should have a robust taxation policy so it can look after its citizens and the welfare of the country. So it looks after government, but at the moment the UAE takes all the onus on itself.
Yeah.
So it pays for its own government, it pays for everything itself, which is great, which for us expats means that we live here relatively, and I'm not saying this in inverted commas, cheaply, because if you look at my home country and your home country, the taxation is creeping up to the 50% level. Now,
when you lump everything together,
we get free NHS, we get free schooling. They fix the potholes in the road. Let's be honest, they don't. No, they don't.
I haven't noticed that.
You can live in the UK relatively cheaply because your personal taxation is very high.
There is the opportunity for your kids to go to school you don't pay for if you need treatment medically.
So
yes,
let me give you an example of a country that does very well at this. Norway has up to 50% tax on its citizens. They have one of the best healthcare schemes in the world. Their roads are amazing. They have maternity cover of a year for husbands not just the mothers. They look after kids. They look after free universities. And hence you find it actually works very well. So we're looking at complaining about 5%, and then we've got somebody who's been charged 50%, and most Norwegians are fairly happy with that.
I think, yeah, that's probably a trend across Scandinavia. But I
Exactly.
mean, Norway is a unique case, though, isn't it, in terms of, national resources, natural reserves, in terms of the, I guess, the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Huge.
So, is that not the biggest on the planet?
It is the biggest on the planet, yes.
I believe so. I mean, that's a slightly unique case. But your point's still the same, that, when you pay high levels of tax, you do have the right to ask for something in return, or you should have that.
Do you think we'll ever be offered a passport here? There are people who've been here 45 years that don't have the right to a passport.
Citizenship is a difficult issue, isn't it?
It is.
Suppose.
And I suspect the UA will manage it very well, like they've done with everything else, because I think that shift, the 5%, probably most people won't leave. Let's be honest with you, I'm not going to leave.
Right.
Now, from a personal point, I hate personal taxation. But from a company perspective, I see it absolutely as imperative to keep the UA going on its trajectory it's doing, because it has to.
Yeah, okay. To keep the momentum going.
Let's face it, the roads here are built in like 35 seconds. To extend the Al Qudra and that roundabout in UK would take a million years, literally, and about $1 billion. The UA is going to do it in 6 months, and we're going to have the smoothest road system in the world. So I look at it
there
from that.
There was a look on your face when you said 1 million years, and I'm thinking it would take a million years. Yeah,
There's a place outside near me in Oxford. The road has got potholes that would kill a child on a bike.
I shouldn't laugh, but
you know what I'm talking about.
The sentiment is there. Okay. The income tax thing is a very difficult thing. I mean, Oman is almost a test case for this. Well, it really is a test case for this, certainly in the GCC. I'm not going to get into the political point of this. No taxation without representation and all that kind of stuff. But you do have the right, I think, once you pay tax, to ask, more tax to pay to ask for a little bit more.
I almost guarantee if we fast forward 10 years, UAE will have sorted this. It's a commercially driven country that wants to grow, and it understands that it can't just fund itself all the time. The individuals living here will have to fund it to a degree as well. But what they will get on the back of that is probably things like free healthcare. There'll be schooling coming up. There may be, I don't know. I'm not an economist, but PwC released a report how many years ago saying the GCC, not the UAE, the GCC will at some point in the next 5 years introduce income tax across all of the jurisdictions. Now, Oman is first on the top 1%. I suspect Saudi's going to look at that as well, and so will we. Okay. It's inevitable. It's not. There's no point in fighting this because it does make sense.
Well, I remember that report, and that was much discussed. Let's put it that way.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that was the first story today. But a couple of questions for you. This one from Marietta. Thanks, David and Tim. I learn a lot from your interviews. There you go. Just to share a comment.
From me, not from you.
Yeah, well, I was looking at you. I think it matters in Dubai where you are from, because I hear a lot of stories that Asians are paid less than Europeans or Americans, and I hope that changes. P.S. You look good, David and Tim. And I'm saying to you, Marietta, the check is in the post.
Did you make that last bit up? Or
No,
for me?
No, she's actually said that. Yeah.
Yeah, look, the reality is she's right. But I don't think this is just the UAE, by the way. I think this is all over the world.
Yeah.
The UAE is heightened because of our massive expat population. Yeah, we have 88%, it's growing by the day, of expats here. So unfortunately, there is sometimes the situation where people get overlooked. I do think in the 20-odd years I've been here, that's starting to equalise. Just remember, 8 years ago, women couldn't drive in Saudi Arabia.
It's remarkable to think.
Yeah,
now,
and now
yeah.
I have mandates from clients in Saudi saying we want a female for this role. Look how much things have shifted.
Just to give that a bit of context there, 8 years ago is 2017. Down to me, and I'm guessing to you, that feels like yesterday.
Do you know...
last week, you know?
What was it? Reverence, the album. You'll know this from Faithless.
Okay.
35 years old.
Oh, don't say that. You are not welcome back. I know. That's just the effect of age, David Mackenzie. You can get in touch with us, info@mira.fm, or you can whatsapp.mira.fm. If you've got a question for David, get in touch today, and I'll put it to him. There are a couple of things we didn't do last week. We for some reason, didn't get on to the main topics of discussion. I'm blaming Farage again, who works the controls here, or his online trading. I'm not quite sure what he does, but he's there at the moment. We didn't really talk about a couple of things, but I want to ask you something in particular that you brought up, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. Okay. I think it was the first time you were in here chatting. Let me just bring the topic up here because I'm interested, really. And it's remote working, first of all. There's two things. Remote working, the complexities of remote working. At COVID times, it became remote working was the only thing we could do. It became a thing, and it was going to be the future, and it's now not the future.
No,
I don't know where it stands.
I think it's hybrid now, and I think a lot of people talk about flexibility in the workplace, and I do believe that's the right thing to offer people. Right. But let me give you a slightly controversial thing. The people that will stop home working are the employees, because there is an expectation from the employers that you work hard when you're working from home.
Okay.
If it's proven you're not, you will lose the right to work at home.
Okay, I take your point, but I come here and do the show, and I generally work at home prepping for the next day, because what happens is, people are busy, and interviews are confirmed later in the day because people know what they're going to do. So that means if I'm going to talk to you next week and you confirm, late on a Wednesday, yes, I'll definitely be there. Then it's worth me doing the work to run through topics, get myself clear on questions I want to ask and everything else. But I find, and I don't know if this is just years of doing this, that the work I do, I work in a really kind of concentrated way, because I'm at home and I've got other stuff to do, and I feel like I'm at home, but I do a reasonable level of work. That if I was here in the office, I'd be chatting to Farage about chocolate cake, and we'd be, singing songs, whatever it is that we do. A lot of this kind of office banter thing would go on, and I'm just not as concentrated here. So 3 hours of work here, if I'm really honest, I'm really hoping the boss ain't listening, is probably an hour and a half, 2 hours at home of really concentrated work, because I can sit and lock myself away.
Just remember, you're of a certain age profile where I
love that. So you're an old guy who
your expectations are you're left to your own devices. If you don't do something, it won't be done.
Well, that's how I view it.
So if you look at, I give my example. My team work 2 days a week from home, 3 days a week from the office. Their decision, by the way, after COVID.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure 80% of those guys are working really hard. 20% aren't. But ultimately,
do you know who the 20%
are?
Yeah, I guess you do.
Yeah, pretty much. But my view is I have to give them the opportunity to prove they can work at home. If not, they're never going to show me they can't work at home or can work at home.
That's fair. All right.
So, some of my guys, I'm pretty sure they may start later and finish earlier, but generally they do their work, and they're happier because they work at home. And generally, I don't have my workforce leaving me, which for me is a really important thing. Continuity of staff means that they have better relationships with clients. It means they have a longevity in making revenue. That's how my business is very simple. Let me give you an example. I have a lady called Elena who's a working mum. She works from home permanently.
Right.
I know she works the minute she gets up, and I have to stop her working in the evening.
Yeah, because you mentioned Elena before.
She's really good.
Yeah,
she's just... And she's an anomaly because she's one of the few people who works permanently from home.
Right.
But if I look at someone like, good example, Farhan, who's my banking guy, an Indian guy. I know when I call him, sometimes he doesn't pick up first time.
Right.
Because I know what he's doing, because he does it at work. He's constantly working. And he sometimes misses,
Really?
So I know the different, but remember, mine's a relatively small business. If you're a huge conglomerate, you have to set very strict rules on what is working from home.
Yep.
And as an employee, you must take that advantage, and it is an advantage, not a right, by the way. You have to show your employers you are working at home and being as productive as you are in the office, or in your case, more productive.
Well, I'm not sure I'm ever that productive, to be honest with you, but I get the work done. I mean, this is just talking at the end of the day. But, I need to structure things to think, well, what might that person say?
Yeah.
And then there's a level of concentration you need to do that. But after everything, if you get your work done, it doesn't matter where you do it, does it?
To a degree, yes, but the problem we have, and this goes back to the previous question about nationalities, certain bosses have the view that they want to see you in the office and they want to see you on the phone or they want to see you typing away.
Okay.
And I think my view is that's the past. And if we go back towards that, we're not evolving as a work culture. I think what we have to do is a hybrid mentality. We have to trust people. Some of those people will abuse the trust, but if 80% don't, we're winning.
Yeah, for sure.
And you are right. I look in my office, I tend to eat my lunch at my desk. A lot of my people eat the lunch in the breakout room, which I think is really good because you should step away from your desk.
Yeah.
My guys leave on the dot of 5:30. I have no issue with that at all because they need to spend time with their partners, their families, their dogs, whatever they need, sport, etc. Because I know that they work really hard. And that's not being a lovely boss. I look at my revenue, I look at my people, they're doing well, and they have flexibility.
All right, then. Here's the other thing that we missed a couple of weeks ago. This was...
We missed so much.
We did, yeah. I think we talked more about your Ironman career. Or your.
I don't know, I'm not an Ironman anymore.
No, I know, but
Expired.
You were. Yeah, but
I was.
to me, you still are.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
that's how I see you. How do I deal with millennials, Gen Z? And this, is increasingly not an issue, but it's increasingly something at the forefront because we're all getting older and you have to deal with the generation that's coming. And generations are different. And whether you like it or not, it is inevitable that you're going to turn into your parents in terms of attitudes. Attitudes will be slightly different because things develop in different ways. But, my wife says to me, you are just your father. And I don't really am. Is that
Savage.
It does cut to the bone, but it happens, doesn't it? And
it does.
But you have to get along in a workplace. And one of the things about, I guess, a team like yours is if it's a reasonably, it's not the biggest of teams, it's really important to create that environment where people can work together. You don't have to love everybody. You've got to be able to work with them.
Our guys work really well together because we've got real different nationalities and different backgrounds and different age profiles, and I think that's why it works. If we were we typically don't hire Brits. I know it's a bit of... Because we typically, if you look at some of my...
They're not trustworthy.
My best performing ones, Filipino, Indian, Pakistani, South African, Ukrainian, and we hired them because they were the right people rather than where they were from.
Yeah, okay.
But you are right. Look, millennials are... We have a mishmash. I find them an anomaly at times.
I mean, I'm using this example. How do I work with millennials and Gen Z? Because I would be considered Gen X. But it applies the same way. If you're a millennial thinking, well, how do I deal with you? I'm asking that question
I think
as well.
It's communication. So if I have a problem with somebody in my office, I typically will say, look, this is my issue.
Right.
Am I approaching this right? I'm not particularly confrontational in that respect, but... If I can see somebody's having a problem with me or what I'm doing, I sit down with them and go, look, this isn't working. How are we going to make this work? The positive spin, not what are you going to do to make it work? That's not their problem. It's my problem as well.
Yeah.
So I think if you're in an environment where you're struggling with your older boss, you're struggling to communicate, think about how you're doing that communication, what issues that person has. Come from that perspective, not saying it's his fault. And sit down and go, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I don't feel I'm getting this done properly. I think I'm not connecting with you right. What's your guidance?
The word there is connection, isn't it? You need to create those connections. And it has to be, look, we're at different levels. And I don't mean different intelligence levels. We just think differently. Because generationally we are different. But if you can sit and talk to somebody, we all love each other and everything's lovely.
I don't think that will ever be the case.
That will never
but
be
I think
the case.
You've got
but
to
it's
accept,
making the effort,
You've got to accept that. I'm not going to get on with some people in my office, even though I'm the boss. And that's not my expectation. My expectation, I have to provide them an environment where they're given a chance to excel. Yeah. If they're not excelling, we need to figure out why they're not and help them to get there. Yeah. That's my, as the MD of a company, my goal is to make the company profitable. The only way I can do that is making my people productive. By telling them they're terrible and they can't do things, it's not going to make them productive, it's going to make them leave. So I have to come from a perspective. Why are you not being productive? How can I help you there?
There's another side to this as well, isn't there? I don't know. I mean, you probably know this far better than I do, but can you teach? There's an amount of this that is just emotional intelligence, and it's realizing how somebody feels and responding appropriately and kind of taking their feelings into consideration to a point.
Yes.
Because this is obviously a workplace. But can you teach that? Because you must have candidates that are just, you think, wow, I can't believe you just said that, or, did you think that through before it came out of your mouth kind of thing?
I will say that.
Well, you will, but we're generationally the same, so I'm not shocked by it. Some people will be shocked by the things that you would say, I'm sure. And I get that a lot. And sometimes
from the radio?
No, I catch myself saying to people, because I got to this point where I thought, I'm not really that bothered anymore. And I'll say something and I'll think, I just said that out loud. I was thinking that.
I did that one the other day, and I actually went up to the person and apologised. I said, look, that came out completely wrong. I didn't mean that.
But that's the case in point, isn't it? That's emotional intelligence. And I wonder if that's something that you've had to say to people in the past. Can you coach people in any way? I don't know if it's possible.
You have to be real. That sometimes you're just not going to connect with some people, and you have to part ways. There are some people that, no matter how much guidance and help you give them, they're not going to change because they don't want to change, and they perceive that they're in the right all the time. And if that happens, then they part company with you as an organisation. There are people like that, absolutely. We can't change everyone. And in reality, you might join a company and you get there and go, actually, I genuinely don't believe in the vision or the leader. Then you've got to be very honest. Can I adapt to that culture? Can I adapt to my moral compass? And if you go, no, you shouldn't be there.
Well, you shouldn't be doing something that you don't like, should you? It's probably not worth getting out of bed.
I say, you say that. The drivers in the UA, you need to earn a salary. So some people are doing jobs they don't like. I've got a friend, actually, and I won't name him.
It's very ideal world, that thinking, but...
It is, and you've got to be in a very particular situation to go, I don't believe in this company's vision, I don't believe in my boss, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because then you're out of work, you've got to pay your rent, you've got to pay your... whatever.
But by the same token, if you have that attitude, because that is an attitude.
It is, yeah.
It's not narcissism per se, but it is very me. I'm going to gun for something. If you're like that, you'll get another job.
I absolutely believe, and I believe that we've had people leave my company, and it's because we've not been right for them, not that they've been not right for us, if that makes sense. Right. And there's a couple of people that have left a couple of years ago. I thought, I wish I kept them. They were really good. But we just were not the right business for them. They weren't the right, they kept clashing with us. And they've gone on to do really good things, which I applaud. I think that's great because we are not the be-all and end-all. But as an individual, you have to self-analyse yourself to a degree and go, am I being sensible here or am I just being stubborn and pig-headed? And I do think there are some times, and I think this is why people do clash with millennials a bit, because they can't get where the millennials want to go. That entitled part of them rubs people up the wrong way. And that's the biggest thing you hear employers say, I can't stand the entitlement, well, I should have this.
Yeah, I struggle with that greatly. I just think, well...
But do you think this is a millennial thing? I think this was around when I was a kid, when I was starting in work. I think we worked hard because we had to, but I remember people in my first business, at my first recruitment company, I thought, my God, how are they still here?
Yeah, I guess. Look, it's not a new problem, is it? It's just been. I don't know.
But let me give you a very short example. I've got an intern that joined me, and she's originally from India, but she's been here all her life. She's only 19. She works so hard. She's doing a degree, and she's my intern. She's a millennial, or what is she, a Gen...
she'd be Gen Z,
Gen
wouldn't she? Or maybe even the next generation.
Yeah, I don't know, the one before that.
Is it Gen Alpha? I don't know. Why is it going backwards? Anyway.
But she works super hard, so you can't tar her with the same brush as every other person. Remember, everyone is an individual, so don't tar them with the same brush until they show those traits. And if they start showing those traits, have a chat with them.
It's the internet, isn't it? I think one of the issues is you have a generation now that has been brought up with mobile phones. My kids are just gobsmacked when I say, "Look, we didn't used to have the internet." What did and it's kind of hard to get grip on it because you're so used to it.
Yeah.
And people think differently. They use technology to communicate.
Yes.
Far, far more effectively than I ever could. And I think it's a bit like, oh, you're over-reliant on your phone. No, it's just how it is. I used to worry about my son being online gaming. And then it occurred to me that actually he's online, he's at home, he's safe, he's playing FIFA, whatever it
He's
is,
chatting to
with
his
4 or
mate.
5 friends. And there's a real element of social interaction there. So actually, it wasn't that bad.
No, I think it's the world evolves, and I think what you have to. And one thing I do really hate, and everyone knows, is when you go out for dinner and you see people eating and their kids, they've got a laptop in front of their kids, and then they're on their phones. And I remember when my kids were younger, they put their little cars away, and we chatted to them, and we talked to them for the hour we were out for dinner. And funnily enough, now when we sit down for dinner with them, my kids are a bit older now with their girlfriends. Nobody's on their phone. Everyone's chatting. So I think this is the bit I do. It does upset me when I see people having dinner with each other and they're on their phones while they're eating. I find this lack of interaction sad.
Well, technology, in terms of productivity or being an enabler, it's kind of become a babysitter.
I think people have lost the art of conversation.
Oh, we are two grumpy old men, aren't we, here? But I think there's an element of this as well, how you deal with, the generations at work. And let's not point at millennials or Gen Z or Gen X or whoever. There's a particular element of, the skills that you need in the environment at work. You need to be at a certain level, don't you? And I'm kind of pointing at our generation, really, that, there are things that my son can do, his generation could do, the millennial generation can do, in inverted commas, far better than I can, because it's there. They were brought up with it.
My intern's a good example. The stuff she talks about, the marketing and the ideas she comes with are really good, and she's not afraid to say them, which I really like.
Do you know what? We've not got to any of the points that we were talking about. We did stuff that was
How unusual.
About 4 weeks ago, but there you are. And it's very nearly the end of the hour. What should we finish with today? What have you noticed?
What are you doing for National Day?
What am I doing for National Day? Well, not much at the moment.
I was going away, but I've just cancelled my trip.
Oh, why is that?
Work.
When are you going back to Rio? Do you spend a lot of time in
Yes,
Rio?
Next week. Next week for a week. Yeah, I do typically 1 or 2 weeks on and then 2 weeks back here. I like Riyadh. I've got a foot in both camps. I'm a UAE person, but I'm integrating into KSA society. I like it there. I like the Saudis.
I've been there a few times.
It's a bit chaos, but it's the stuff they're doing is amazing.
It's huge.
It is. I mean, Riyadh is a massive city, and it's they have all the problems Dubai's had, and Dubai's all the problems Riyadh has. So I think I do like the differences.
All right then. David Mackenzie is the founder, the CEO, the big chief of Mackenzie Jones. I always like talking to you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been great, as always.
It's hopefully David is back next week.
Yes.
I'm looking. Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
There you are, in the country. And this is Mira Business FM.